Okay, this video is for people who primarily use the pentatonic scale, and also in particular for those who aren't armed with much or any music theory. And hopefully this will be understood as well, despite the fact that I will be using a few entry-level music theory terminologies like major and minor and, the names of the notes, C and A and stuff like that. So in the key of A, that's our pentatonic scale. Now, there's already a note on what I've said there. We're not in the key of A when I do that. We're in the key of A minor. Pentatonic scales are by nature minor, but essentially what happened is that somebody more or less discovered that there's two notes that are in key. They're correct notes, but they can rub up against other chords in the key in a way where it sounds incorrect. The pentatonic scale just takes those two out, those two notes being the second degree and the sixth degree. And if you play them simultaneously, you can almost already imagine them rubbing against other notes in the key in a bad way. And so by getting rid of these two notes, they got rid of all of the notes that are going to sound like accidents, even though you're technically playing correctly because you're only playing notes that are in the key. So the first thing to notice is that you are in fact thinking and playing in minor, whether you know it or not. This is also why if somebody is said that they're playing in a major key, if they say, hey, we're playing in C, you immediately take your index finger, which is your root, and you bring it up to the C, and then you pentatonic solo or riff in C pentatonic, which is minor, while somebody is playing in C major, and that's going to rub. So if you've got like, and you're going like, it sounds a certain kind of right because we've heard it so many times. It's deliberately done in different kinds of blues, sometimes in jazz. As a matter of fact, people have even argued that really where jazz began, it was somebody enjoying the sound of a major and minor clashing simultaneously. But if you're trying to play a pleasant lead over that, that's a little more stylistically correct. So if they're going, and you'll notice that I was playing a pentatonic scale, but I wasn't playing C pentatonic, I was playing A pentatonic. So an easy cheat to think about is whatever key they're in, if they're talking in terms of major, that means that the second note of your pentatonic scale is your root note. This also means that if you've made a habit out of playing your pentatonic scale and always resolving on that, that's a habit you're going to want to break. You don't always have to end on this note, clearly, but if you're constantly ending on this one, it is going to sound not deliberate. It's going to sound more or less like an accident. So get in the habit of ending on this one. Or another tip is maybe just another note that's in the chord that you're resolving on, which usually if it's your one means that any one of those will be pretty decent resolved notes. Now, once you get into more advanced music theory and techniques, clearly there's every other note will work in some way if you're using it right and intentionally, and it works for the genre. So that's the thing to basically think about when you're thinking pentatonically, is you're thinking minor. If they're saying major, your root note is the second note of your pentatonic scale. And the last thing I'll note is that a lot of people, and this is a little more of a beginner thing, and in some places it kind of won't go away out of habit, but there's a tendency, and this isn't just with the pentatonic scale, it's with minor and major as well, of people just sort of thinking in terms of, okay, next note, next note, next note, next note, next note, next note, and they'll ascend and descend, but it's always predictably the next note in the scale that happens. And sometimes attention isn't paid to like just a few notes that are really working. So, you know, in like Strange Brew, they go. And through all the chord changes, Eric Clapton primarily plays those three notes with some semitone and full bends, and occasionally this bridge note that he'll pass back to. And a good way to practice doing that stuff and making your solos a little more musical is to try to sing along what you want to hear. Like, and then now it's more your ear is marrying to your hand, and it's not just patterns, it's now note choices. And you're incidentally training your voice to sing notes better too. So that's that.